The first one is, you see on your sheet, it says approach number 1 on the bottom of page 1, right? It says, approach number 1 is that, yes, this is one of the 613 mitzvahs. I think you might have, with Rabbi Edelstein, seen this in the Sefer HaMitzvos, that this is one of the 613 mitzvahs. Right? The Sefer HaChinuch lists it as mitzvah number 25. Are you familiar with Sefer HaChinuch? Yeah, Sefer HaChinuch is a great sefer. Not that he needs my endorsement. The Sefer HaChinuch was written by a Rishon. He really wrote it for his son, which is why I call it the Sefer HaChinuch, the book of education, right? And what it is, it goes by parsha, goes through all the mitzvahs that are in that week's parsha. And he explains all about all the things that Chazal say, everything we know about that mitzvah, right? It's like a really nice way to learn all the mitzvahs by week. Problem is that some weeks, like for most of the book of Breshis, there's nothing written, right? And then other weeks, you have these parshas where we have 70 mitzvahs and you can't possibly finish it all in 1 week, right? So you got to figure out how to do it. But nevertheless, it's a very good sefer to have. So Sefer HaMitzvos, Sefer HaChinuch, and mitzvah number 25 says, somebody want to read?
The mitzvah to believe in God is to believe that there is a single unitary God who brought into being all that exists by his power and desire, and that he is eternal. Furthermore, that he brought us out of Egypt and gave us the Torah.
Good. Okay, so the Sefer HaChinuch very clearly lists that one of the mitzvahs, mitzvah number 25, is to believe in Hashem, right? And that there's only one of him, and that he is united, he's unitary, right? And that he brought into being everything because he wanted to and because he can, and that he's going to last forever, right? And that he took us out of Mitzrayim and gave us the Torah. That's all part of one mitzvah that we would call the mitzvah of Emunah. Okay? So according to the Sefer Chinuch, right, you only have 612 to go after you've worked on Emunah. Right? Okay. Now the Rambam in Sefer HaMitzvos also holds this, right? And not only does he hold this is one of the mitzvahs, he holds it's mitzvah numero uno, right? It's the first of the 613 mitzvahs, and the Rambam's count of the 613, this is number 1, right? And he says, I'll read this because it's a little complicated. He says, the first commandment is the commandment in which we were commanded to believe in Hashem. That is, we must believe there is an originator and cause who is a catalyst for all existence. As Hashem said, Ani Hashem Elokecha, I am Hashem your God, right, which is the first of the 10 commandments. Okay, so again, the Rambam very clearly says, mitzvah to believe in Hashem, right? Now, he's now going to quote from that same section of the Gemara in Makos that I just told you about, an amazing thing, right? You guys like gematria? Yeah, okay, we're going to see a cool gematria here, right? He says, at the end of Tractate Makos, it is written, 613 mitzvahs were said to Moshe at Sinai. What is the verse, the pasuk, that hints to this? It says, Torah tziva lanu Moshe. That's a pasuk in Devarim at the very end of the Torah, right? Torah tziva lanu Moshe. Anybody know what the significance of that line is, aside from being a song? To whom do we teach this pasuk? This is supposed to be the first words that a parent teaches his child. Right? The first sentence that a parent is supposed to teach their child to say is Torah tziva lanu Moshe morashah kehilas Yaakov. Right? That Hashem commanded us the Torah, an inheritance to the community of Yaakov. Right? So it says in the Torah, Torah tziva lanu Moshe. Right? Now, that says Torah, Moshe commanded us. Right? Literally, it's the words in order are Torah commanded to us, Moshe. Right? Now, the Gemara says, that is to say, if you read it in Hebrew, Klomar minyan Torah, Taf Vav Resh Hey. Anybody here good at gematria? You have the numbers on the board, right? What's Taf? 400. What's Vav? What's Resh? Good. What's Hey? Anybody add those together quickly? Huh? 611. Good. So the Gemara says, right? The Gemara asks the question, wait a second, how much is Torah in gematria? The answer is 611, right? Now, the Gemara is suggesting that what that pasuk means, if you use the gematria, Torah tziva lanu Moshe, means Moshe taught us all the commandments. How many commandments? Torah is the gematria of the number of commandments, right? But the Gemara says, wait a second. No, it isn't. It's 611. There's 613 commandments, right? So why does it say Torah, 611, Moshe commanded us? Right?
Because 2 God is right.
Excellent. Very good. Right? The Gemara says, Uba tshuva, Anochi Hashem Elokecha v'lo yiyeh lecha mipi hagvura sham'u. Right? The Jewish people, in the 10 Commandments, we heard the first one, right? We heard the second one, and then what happened?
We died.
Good, we died. We died after the first one. We were revived, we died after the second one. We got back up and we said, yeah, enough of this, right? HaKadosh Baruch Hu, give it to Moshe, right? We don't want this experience anymore. It's too intense for us of communicating directly with Hashem. Hashem, you gave us 2 commandments. However many more you have, please give them to Moshe, and he will command them to us, right? So 611 of the 613 were given by Moshe to the Jewish people. 2 of the 613 were given directly from Hashem to the Jewish people, right? So the pasuk is very exact when it says Torah tziva lanu Moshe. 611 Moshe commanded us, right? Now the Rambam's point in bringing this is what? There's 613 commandments. 611 of them taught by Moshe to the Jewish people. Which ones were taught by Hashem of the 613? The first 2. So the first 2 are clearly commandments, part of the 613. Right? So the Rambam's bringing this as a proof that Emunah is one of the 613 commandments. It must be. Or else, how could you count up to 613? You need to count the first 2. Right? I am the Lord your God, and you should not have other gods before me. Right? That's all. That's part of the 613. So the Rambam has a very strong proof from here. Right? So it finishes the Rambam, right? Thus it is made clear that I am Hashem is part of the count of 613 mitzvos. And this is the commandment to believe as I have explained. Okay? So the Rambam, like the Sefer HaChinuch, holds that that Emunah is not just like a nice idea, it's not just a midah, although we will talk about it also a midah, right? It is actually a mitzvah. When thou shalt have Emunah. Right? When it's commanded to have Emunah, which means when it's commanded not to do this, not to do Pascal's wager. Right? If I do that and I say, look, I'll keep all the mitzvahs, I don't know if there's a God, I failed to keep one of the mitzvahs, which is believe in God. Right? Okay, any questions on that?
Can we use that in conversation with the Jewish people as a starting point, Pascal's wager, even though that's not supposed to be a wager?
You can, although you run the risk of turning people off. Because the last thing people want to do is live a life that they don't really believe in. They're doing that already. Right? You know, what's more likely to inspire them is to talk to them about developing a relationship with the creator of the universe, right? But if you're in a specific situation where you feel that, yes, somebody would, you know, also, by the way, this doesn't have any longevity, this way of living. If you don't really know if there's a God, right, and there's a really juicy cheeseburger in front of you, right? So to say, but I drew a chart, like it makes sense not to eat the cheeseburger, that's all very nice, but there's a juicy cheeseburger sitting in front of you, it's not going to get you very far. Right? I don't know how far it got Pascal, but then again, he didn't have to give up cheeseburgers, right? So, you know, this when you're in the battleground where like your desire is really pulling you towards something and you don't want to do it, right? So saying like, well, I don't know if it matters or not if I do this, but it's more logical to not eat the cheeseburger than not. It's not going to stop you, right? But you can use it as it is true, right? That it is more logical to live your life that way. Right? It's just missing the point, though, because you're not having Emunah. Right? Okay.